The WNBA Finals we've all been waiting for are finally here. But no, we will not talk about that before we talk about the Connecticut Sun and what they did this year. Locked on Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi everyone, and happy WNBA Finals Monday to you. I am Howard Megdal. I am delighted to be coming to you live from Mohegan Sun, where the New York Liberty defeated the Connecticut Sun by a score of 87-84. If that sounds intense, it very much is. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. You guys keep showing up for us, just like we are for you, 6 days a week. Not to mention, we have people at every arena throughout the WNBA playoffs taking you inside the action. It is not just me, of course, it is the entire collection of talent over at The Next. TheNextHoops.com, we have over 100 reported pieces every month. Make sure you're subscribing. $9 a month, $72 a year. Or if you want to get your business in front of women's sports fans, well, we had over 1.3 million show up for us in September alone. So reach out, editors at thenexthoops.com. Let's talk going over partnerships in 2024. And there are a number of partnerships that have worked extraordinarily well, which we're going to talk about in segment one. One of those partnerships, I just filed a story to the great Isabel Rodriguez, who's our on-duty editor, and getting into shape and get it out the door so you can read us over at thenexthoops.com, is the partnership between Betnijah Laney and the New York Liberty. The New York Liberty are WNBA Finals bound. The last time that could be said accurately, you can say anytime you want, I guess, was 2002, which was a long time ago indeed. Rebecca Lobo is still an active player in 2002, just to take you back to what we're talking about here. But this Liberty team that has seemed almost destined for the WNBA Finals since the moments that Jonquel Jones, Breanna Stewart, and Courtney Vandersloot all decided they wanted to play for Jonathan Kolb and Sandy Brondello's group. Well, that team, for all their talent, and an incredible night by Jonquel Jones, incredible night by Stewart, that team doesn't get there without Betnijah Laney. And so just want to take you inside first her numbers. I'm going to talk about some of what she had to say about this. But Betnijah Laney had a Laney game. 21 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, played great defense all night, one turnover the whole night, in a game that was in many ways decided by who could make the fewest mistakes. Betnijah Laney made fewer than almost anybody. And it really goes back to the way this team is built, right? You have a starting five of Jones and Stewart who have their own gravitational pulls. And you can double them, but you are asking for trouble because Courtney Vandersloot and Sabrina Ionescu are incredible playmakers, both terrific shooters. Sabrina Ionescu had a volume shooting season for the ages in the WNBA. Courtney Vandersloot, the all-time leader in assist percentage in the WNBA. Stewart and Jones played like MVPs on Sunday afternoon, but so too did Laney. For all of the brilliance of the other four, they don't win this game without Betnijah Laney having the game she did. They just don't. And that really is the part that no WNBA team can deal with. We even saw that in a number of the games against the Las Vegas Aces that these two teams played. If you can hold Betnijah Laney at bay, and frankly, if you can do the same for Kayla Thornton, who does a lot of the things that Laney does coming off the bench. Again, the Noah's Ark of rosters, two of everything. You have a chance against the New York Liberty. You have a chance. It's not guaranteed, but you have a chance. You go back to game one in this series between the Liberty and the Connecticut Sun. Betnijah Laney 1 for 9 from the field for 3 points. That's the only game the Sun won in this series. When Betnijah Laney's playing like herself, which she does, especially in the playoffs, you only have so many defenders to go around. You only have so many options to try and slow her down. It reminds me a lot, to be frank, of that 2016 Connecticut Huskies team. And I remember Morden Tuck, future lottery pick, Morden Tuck was left undefended by Scott Rueck in Oregon State in the semifinals. And I asked him about it after. He said, we only have so many options. Somebody's got to be open. Betnijah Laney wasn't getting easy open looks at the basket just by default. You could see it all night. Laney does not settle for long twos. Laney does an exceptional job of seeing where she is on the floor, of finding that spot beyond the three-point line, and creating space as well as giving her a chance to make a higher percentage shot. Some of her higher percentage shots, she just went on the attack in the first quarter. Absolutely flattened Tiff Hayes going to the rim. Betnijah Laney just does everything. And she was there first. She was there before Stewart. She was there before Jones. She was there before Vandersloot. Her teammates talk about setting the tone. Betnijah Laney sets the tone. So there's that. There's Jonquel Jones, who we're going to get more into in segment 2. But we would be remiss not to talk about this Connecticut Sun season. And I had the opportunity to talk a little bit to Darius Taylor about this at the end of last week. And I asked him whether it was by design that the Connecticut Sun were built with players who are often overlooked. And that apparently went into the design. DeWanna Bonner is 13th in the history of the league in win shares. 13th. I mean, that's just a crazy number when you think about the number of players, the number of great players who have played in WNBA history. People don't talk about her as a Hall of Famer, and they need to. And they need to. Was Alyssa Thomas the MVP? Obviously, opinions differ on that. I've been public about this. I voted for Breanna Stewart. I think it was an exceptionally close vote between Thomas, Asia Wilson, Breanna Stewart. I think you can make a very persuasive case for any of the three. Had I been permitted to split my vote 3 ways, I probably would have done it this year. That's how close it was for me. But Alyssa Thomas is somebody who, it isn't really about, did she get enough attention this year, in my view. In my view, there was a lot of attention on Alyssa Thomas, and rightly so. She's the most triple doubles for anyone in the history of the league, and the overwhelming majority of them came this year, as Brenda Fries pointed out on the program last week. That said, Alyssa Thomas wasn't a McDonald's All-American. She was not a number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. And you go back and you look at the numbers, and it's silly that she wasn't. She hasn't been a regular with USA Basketball. So Alyssa Thomas maybe is getting the reputation, the level that she deserves. I absolutely believe that a player making an all WNBA first team and getting the most first place MVP votes is not somebody who is being insulted. I don't think we can live in a world like that. It doesn't make sense. Not when there's so many great players in this league and such a zero-sum outcome. I don't think it makes sense. But I do believe that paying attention to the privilege that there is to see Alyssa Thomas right now, not to be believed. Not to be believed. And the answer to where she ends up, Springfield, because she is a Naismith Hall of Famer. That's the level of player she is. Somebody else is going to be in Springfield someday. We're going to get into in segment 2, Jonquel Jones. But first, here to talk to you guys about Game Time. And look, Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. They have deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. So it's just, if you need last minute seats, that's good too. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So yeah, we're not talking about Jonquel Jones, right? Jonquel Jones had a game for the ages. The great Jackie Powell has a story out today about what Jonquel Jones managed to do in this elimination game. We just take the top line first, okay? 7 of 14 from the field, 25 points, 9 of 12 from the line, 15 rebounds. 15 rebounds. Somebody who Stephanie White dedicated much of her game plan to keeping off the offensive boards, and she had 6 of them. She had 6 of them. The Sun as a team had 7 offensive rebounds. That's how dominant Jonquel Jones was. But to me, and this, what did we just talk about? We talked about dominant interior play. Jonquel Jones at the same time, flick of the wrist, just this beautiful, quick release, deadly from 3. 2 big threes late in this game. Jonquel Jones, when it's 81-78, Liberty have the lead, but truly back and forth. A big steal, sees the pass, anticipates it, knocks it out of the hands of Alyssa Thomas down the other way. Jonquel Jones, the 2021 MVP, played like the best player out on the court in a game that sent her team to the WNBA Finals. She didn't need to do everything. And I've talked with her about this. The load she carried in Connecticut felt heavy to her. She didn't have the spacing. She didn't have... Alyssa Thomas is many things. She is not a volume scorer. She's got that all around her. Betnijah Laney's a volume scorer when you want her to be. She's the 5th option in this starting lineup offensively. Brianna Stewart can put the ball in the basket. She had 27, 9 boards. Sabrina Ionescu, a volume scorer when she needs to be. Courtney Vandersloot, a volume scorer when she needs to be. Jonquel Jones was able to be herself. And it's almost like, I don't mean to overstate this, but she has the room to breathe mentally, and that puts her in a position to exercise what is her genius level of basketball. And that's what I feel like you've seen all year. She's been lighter. I don't know how to, you can go back and look at like the post-game press conferences. Her shoulders are further down when she's doing them the last couple of years for the Connecticut Sun compared to where she is for the New York Liberty. As a human, it's great to see her happy. As a basketball analyst, it is incredible to see Jonquel Jones in a position to be her best self. One of the defining players of this generation as well. And again, it goes back to my point that I made earlier. It is not insulting when we are able to understand and appreciate the greatness of more than one player at a time in this league. This league is too big and too talented to either be the MVP or utterly dismissed. That can't be how this world operates. It will not be how I operate. It should not be how any of us think of it. It makes no sense. Jonquel Jones and Breanna Stewart and Alyssa Thomas and Asia Wilson and so many more players are helping to define what we're going to talk about as the narrative arc of this league. Betnijah Laney is going to help define it. Tiffany Hayes has helped to define it. And just before we get into the finals, Tiffany Hayes is 44th in the history of the league in win shares. She is 44th. How many great players have there been in this league? Tiffany Hayes, 44th. It just blows my mind to think about the career that she has put together. Blows my mind. I mean, I even want to just point out to you, here are a couple of names, and I hope to God nobody takes this as, oh, these are insulting these other players, because we're not. That's how good Tiffany Hayes has been for over a decade. She has more win shares than Kristi Tolliver. She, by the way, as of now, has more win shares than Alyssa Thomas. A couple fewer years for Alyssa Thomas, just saying. She has more win shares than Chelsea Gray. She has more win shares than Emma Meesseman. She has more win shares than Tisha Penichero. She has more win shares than Skylar Diggins-Smith or Jewel Lloyd or Kayla McBride. Tiffany Hayes has had an incredible career. And she did her best on Sunday afternoon. She did. 15 points on 11 shots. She played 22 minutes, did all she could for this team. So did Beck Allen, playing through an illness. Gave him everything she had. Top to bottom, this Sun team, full of people fighting through questions about them. Some of them, frankly, self-inflicted. Dejanay Carrington and her blow-up on the bench at Game 3. An open question whether she was going to contribute in Game 4. And don't ask me, ask Stephanie White. She said so. But what did Dejanay Carrington do? She went out there and put up a career playoff high in points with 14. Kept them in that game. Incredible. Incredible. Ty Harris couldn't get minutes for Vicki Johnson. Comes up huge down the stretch. Sun only have a chance in that game late because Ty Harris scored 10, 2 big threes late in 19 minutes off the bench. Olivia Nelson-Ododa, vital. When you figure out what Connecticut's going to do next year, it has to be in part with Olivia Nelson-Ododa having a role. She signed for 2024. A lot of players aren't. Tiff Hayes is not. Beck Allen, I asked her about it post-game. She didn't rule it out, but she talked about her focus being Paris 2024. We'll see if Beck Allen is back next year. DeWanna Bonner is an unrestricted free agent. I asked Stephanie White if she hoped Alyssa Thomas would put in a good word on behalf of the franchise. They are, in fact, engaged to be married. Steph said, I hope so. I would imagine she will. What the Sun are going to look like? It's going to be different next year. Going to be fascinating. We're going to have a lot WNBA preview of the finals in the week ahead, but just going to give you a little teaser of it right after this. It's what we've been waiting for. It is the matchup between the two best teams by any metric you can name. New York Liberty, Las Vegas Aces. Sunday it begins. And there's so much to get into on the basketball side, right? So much. But I would be remiss if I didn't point out a couple of things. Number one, these are pretty lousy time windows. 3 p.m. on Sunday. I don't love it. I didn't love it for this one. Game 1 of the WNBA Finals, 3 p.m. on Sunday. I know, and to be clear, this is not, oh, the league is terrible. There's so much that goes into this. ESPN has a lot to say about this. There's a TV deal coming up. This is all negotiable. It's all negotiable, whether with ESPN or fill in the blank. But I don't love 3 p.m. for game 1. I especially don't love game 5 on a Friday night at 9 p.m. I recognize it's in Las Vegas. We're dealing with multiple time zones. 9 p.m. on a Friday night for what, if many people, and myself included, believe this is a series that's going to go the full 5. That's a showcase game for the ages. 9 p.m. on a Friday. I just, if you make an MLS style deal with an Apple TV, you can probably set your own time, your own times for it. And for all that we could talk about and all that goes into it, I don't believe if you put a lie detector on Kathy Engelbert, she'd say that she'd want game 5 of the WNBA Finals at 9 p.m. on a Friday night. So I don't love it. I love that we're getting this. The great Ari Chambers reached out before to talk about how great this is for the league. It is. It I think moves things forward in the way that Minnesota versus Los Angeles did in the middle of the last decade. I think this is an opportunity to truly showcase the best collection of talents that the WNBA has. And I can't wait to see every minute of it. We'll be covering it here. Don't miss a moment. We'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll be back with you all week here, of course, on the regular show, over at thenexthoops.com, where we're covering it in every way you can imagine. And of course, live. We will be there. We will be there for you. So until tomorrow, I am Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a happy WNBA Finals week. See you soon.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.